What is up, YouTube? YouTube! Mr. King coming at you live. Today, we're going to talk about space pollution. Now, we've talked about water pollution, light pollution, but you've never probably heard of space pollution. And an image that might come to your mind is this: our regular trash being out in space. Okay? And I thought of that too. And my first impression when I heard space pollution was, shouldn't we want more of our trash in space so we don't have to deal with it on Earth? Like, isn't space pollution a good thing? Like, now we don't have to worry about it. But that's not actually what we're going to be talking about today. In reality, space pollution looks a lot more like this. So when you hear the term space pollution, it often refers to space junk, which is around 500,000 pieces of debris orbiting Earth, particularly like the lower Earth orbit. And this debris comes from satellites and other spacecraft, and it's been accumulated over the last 60, 70 years. Okay? And you still might thinking, why should we care? You know, there's trash in space. Okay. There's trash on Earth too. But why is it a big deal? And what may not be obvious is, have you ever been in a car and something flies and hits your windshield and cracks it? This analogy will help you understand why we should care about space trash. So, just like this hammer that's hitting this guy's windshield, imagine you trying to launch a satellite. And every time you launch it, you're worried about a little piece of a satellite from a long time ago, even like something as small as paint chip, hitting your satellite. And while something small, it doesn't seem like it can do a lot of damage, a lot of these pieces of space debris are traveling around 20,000 miles per hour. So a little piece flying at 20,000 miles per hour can actually do a lot of damage, and that is why it can be really deadly to launch satellites. And it's going to be ever increasingly hard because of this problem. So you may be thinking, well, I don't really care about satellites. I'm not working for SpaceX. I don't need a satellite. Well, if we weren't able to get new satellites up in the air, it could affect a multitude of things that you take for granted every day, such as like certain Wi-Fi connections rely on satellites, or cell phone communication, or your GPS, or weather and disaster monitoring. All of these things require the use of satellites. And over time, as it gets harder and harder for us to launch satellites, the old ones that we're relying on right now will start to die. So space junk is making that harder. So we need to figure out a way to get rid of the space junk so we can have safe launches and orbiting satellites, so we can continue to live the way that we do. Okay? So, solution number 1 is prevention. In the old days, all that we cared about was launching a satellite. We didn't really care about what happened after. And nowadays, we realize how big of a problem that became. So new satellites are designed to exit Earth's orbit before losing battery. So it's something called the graveyard orbit, where the satellite will make a maneuver so we don't have to worry about it orbiting Earth. Okay? So that's step number 1, is prevention. We want to stop new junk from being created. That'll save us a lot of time and money. Now, prevention's great, but what about the stuff that's already there, the 500,000 pieces of junk that are hurting us already? So there's a multitude of solutions, such as space nets, lasers, harpoons, giant foam balls, tethers and solar sails, and even giant robotic arms to grab that junk. We're going to talk about the 3 most prominent in detail right now. So, solution number 1 is a space net. The basic idea is that we launch a satellite which will deploy a net, and then over time the net will slowly collect junk, and then once the satellite's ready, it'll start to send and tow the junk into an orbit that will crash and burn into Earth safely. So you're basically catching a lot of debris and then taking it out of Earth's orbit. The pros are that it's relatively low cost and it removes a variety of debris. Cons, however, if the net doesn't work, there could be a possibility where the net starts to break from a lot of the debris, and that would just create even more waste that now we have to solve. And while the satellite has been tried with a net, the tow feature of actually grabbing the net and bringing it away has not been tested. So that is an unknown for this approach. Okay, possible solution number 2 is a space harpoon. So this one works by you target a large piece of debris and then you hit this harpoon that'll go right through it, grab it, and then you'll tow it back in. This one is also relatively low cost, and there has been a successful test. However, on the downside, if you have something like a fuel tank or something that's really sensitive, on impact, the harpoon could shatter it and cause even more debris, and that's really what we don't want. So it only works for stuff that's really sturdy, and it really focuses on large debris, but it won't really get a lot of the small debris that can easily puncture a lot of spacecrafts that we launch now. The third and the farthest away technology is lasers. And the lasers have been proposed to move current debris. So right now there's a lab on the Earth's surface that's trying to use lasers to move debris so it doesn't collide with other debris and create even more junk. So the idea right now is that you use a laser, and if two things are going to collide, you move one of them so they don't collide and you don't create more mess. So that's great for prevention. Eventually, the hope is that you have a laser in space that could eventually push it out of Earth's orbit. So that's how the laser's idea works. The pros, it could prevent collisions and it could eventually move larger space debris out of orbit. The cons, the technology is a bit of a ways away, and there is a greater emphasis on preventing collisions rather than debris removal right now. Okay, before this video is over, this is a problem that affects us all. Everyone shares the Earth's atmosphere, all countries. Okay, and while we will all benefit from space debris removal, not everyone will share the same costs. So this is a really tricky problem, and it's very hard to encourage everyone to help because if one country takes care of it, everyone will benefit. So right now we're kind of in a stalemate where a lot of companies have the potential to do it, but they need more incentive to actually see this as a problem. And this problem will continue to get worse because more and more collisions occur every day, creating more and more small pieces of debris that'll make it harder for us to launch satellites. So please, if you can, spread awareness about space pollution and advocate for removal. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I hope you have a great day. Bye.